Ba-bum, baby. Ba-bum, baby. Pour a cup, take a break, settle down and join us on a whim. Gentle thoughts, honest talks, it's time for a sip and stim.
Welcome to Sip and Stim, where parenting on the spectrum pairs best with caffeine, coping skills, and stims. So I have my caffeine this morning. How about you, Kate?
I'm slowly working on it.
I
Slowly
definitely
but surely.
realized, yeah, I realized when I don't have it, it's a very much a very different situation. So I've been with the warmer weather, I've been into my iced coffees lately. So
Yeah, the mom brain fog is real. I don't know if you feel that, but I definitely feel it, especially now that they're off school and I'm pretty much at 24/7.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but I know that you were like going to the pool. We've been outside swimming a lot, and that is adding to the fog because it's so
Mm,
tiresome.
yeah,
Fun, but tiresome. And you were sharing that swimming was really fun for Grayson and for us.
yeah. They both are really loving the pool. Grayson, he typically can last for about 20 minutes and then he wants to go and play with the vending machines. Um, so, the typical. But yeah, no, Rosalind, she's doing really well. She loves the pool. She's like a little water rat. When she's in
That's
there, it's hard
awesome.
to get her out. So, yeah.
A lot of good, fun summer memories there. So
Yeah. Yep. So far, so good.
awesome. So, when was the last time you actually had someone help you with your children? You were able to leave someone with your children other than family and felt any bit of relaxed about it?
Um, well, I guess it depends. If it's somebody who's getting paid through labor dollars or his insurance, I feel okay leaving him with people. But somebody that we personally know that has been not family, um,
Never?
yeah, uh, I would say it's probably been a very, very, very long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's hard. That's
yeah,
that sounds tiresome.
yeah. It's you can't just pick up the phone and type in care.com or whatever it is and find somebody who's a nurse or at least knows like seizure protocol and things like that. It's not that easy to just pick up the phone and call. So um but I'd imagine for you it might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. I think discussing the topic of how finding a babysitter is different between a parent of neurotypical children and a parent that has a neurodiverse children or neurodiverse child or children, I think it is a lot different. I will say, in general, as a mom who cares about her child, which I think there's many of us out there, it's hard putting your trust in anyone to watch your
Hmm.
children. Um, but there is definitely more, it's easier. It's an easier process. For example, um, some families that I know, they'll hire like mother's helpers or teenagers in the area. Or a common place where I've been able to find people to help is asking around my church, um, and finding like younger girls that are available to kind of help. Um, while they might be amazing and great at helping my children, I think it's a very different dynamic for someone with more medical needs,
Hmm.
behavioral needs, communication needs. It's definitely not a situation of, hey, just go hire the neighborhood teenager or give grandma a ring. I know for my mom herself, we have four, and our youngest is like soon to be 10 months. She really can't watch all four of them just being
Yeah.
a grandma, and they're being, very, the little one I think is the hardest for her. So I think that is not going to be common, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's accurate. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, we unfortunately, our church population is much older. Derek and I
Hmm.
are probably the youngest, or one of the youngest couples there. And we have a very low attendance rate. So we really just we don't have that option. So we really do rely on the services that we have in place for Grayson. But that doesn't cover Rosalind. So whenever we do decide to go somewhere, we are often leaving her, home with Grayson and his care team. Um, and she's usually kind of just on her own. Um, Now, of course, they're gonna like watch out for her, and they would, of course, call if something happened. But she's pretty much, I think, as I was saying in the last episode, like she's pretty self-sufficient. She has a phone, so she knows how to use it. She calls, texts, all of that. Um, it's just really kind of crazy. I'm still in denial that she's 11. Still think that she's like 5, but
And a soon to
um,
be middle schooler, which is nuts.
I know I'm not old enough for that. Um, so it's just, yeah, it's really frustrating. But when you have, I love the memes that are all over social media that are posted by like parents of kids who have kids that are on the spectrum or who have medical needs, and it's they're the memes where it's like, oh, why don't you just call a babysitter or something like that, and the parents are like, yeah, no, like there, if you look them up, there are some really funny ones, and I do love to send them to my family when they forget, you know, what my family dynamic is like. So if they're like, well, why can't you get so and so to watch, and I'm just like, send off that meme, because I just it's just not going to happen. um but yeah, I mean, like I said, the people who watch Grayson now, the ones who are actually trained and whatnot, I mean, they really do need to have extensive knowledge in not only like behaviors and how to prevent him from like his self-injury, but like also really know how to at least implement his seizure action plan, because he's having them so frequently now, and especially with the heat,
Oh
because that's
my.
his like number
Yeah.
one trigger. Yeah. So I mean, his nursing services right now are like so imperative that like we desperately really need them. So when we have somebody out, it's like it's challenging, but yeah, it's I would say I am very jealous of the parents who can just pick up a phone and, find somebody easily. Because that doesn't happen with us.
So I'm guessing date nights don't really happen very frequently. Date
Ever.
lunches.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if Derek and I do get a chance to escape, it's usually while the kids are at school. And it is usually like a quick lunch here and there, and then we're
Mhm.
back to work. It's not,
Right.
we're never like dinner, a movie, that kind of stuff. Like it's usually within an hour and we're done.
Yeah, and so like Grayson has, the medical concerns. Is he at risk for eloping? Do you have other concerns in that regard? You're smiling, I'm guessing so.
Yeah, he definitely has an elopement risk. He likes to run off. He it depends on who he's with, but he likes
Mhm.
to test people. Um, and he likes to test people depending on who is there. Like he has a certain person who he works with who, he knows that he's just not going to get away with anything. So when she's there, he will not even try to attempt to run off or do anything bad. So yeah, I mean, so whenever she's there, I know that he's going to behave. But when she's not there, it's a little scary. He definitely just he will take his opportunities when he can, and if he can dart, he will go. Um, so yeah, I like to have people on staff who can run.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not something you can teach. I mean, I know like just professionally working in the field, there are some therapists that are more on their toes than are others. And it's like I can't count the number of times where I've said, we have to be ready at any point and anticipate the behavior to happen at any point. And that's really hard to always be in that mindset of like this could happen at any minute, but that's really your life.
Mhm.
And people that are helping with Grayson, they have to have that same mentality. Um, it's not like you're just going, like I remember when I would babysit, my cousin when I was younger, he was a little baby, but I would put him to nap and I would sit and I would watch some TV and just make sure he's not crying and, entertain him, tire him out. It's not, that in itself, I think just watching a child can be tiresome in general, but it's a whole nother level. Um, does he get anxiety around people that are new, or is he more like the kind that's like, ooh, new person, let me test him?
It's kind of a mixture of both. I think he starts out kind of testy, and then when he kind of gets the feel for what he will and won't be able to get away with, that's when he will kind of just be himself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it really kind of depends on the situation. He is he is very social, so like he's very willing to be all over somebody who is new. He's just very how do I put it? He's just very temperamental with other people, and he reads people very well. So he typically knows if he's going to like somebody within the first 5 minutes of meeting them. And we usually tell his ABA provider that we'll know if someone's going to work out within the first hour, because we can just tell automatically based off of like how he's pairing with someone and how he's reacting to them. And if respect isn't started from day one with Grayson, he will never respect you. That's just how he is. You have to treat him a certain way if you expect to be treated a certain way. So that's really kind of where we start out with new people now.
Mm-hmm.
Not just ABA providers or therapists. It's really kind of anybody who is working with him or who is coming around him. You have to build
Right.
the trust with him first.
Well, that is helpful that you can kind of like gather that information pretty quickly on, because there's nothing worse than starting with a new professional therapist, someone of some sort, and then finding out like after a week of trying to build that rapport that this isn't working, we just wasted a whole nother week. So,
Yeah.
in a way, I think that's a really good thing that he's able to communicate that to you guys and show you. Um, so, do you have like a situation of a really bad babysitting experience that you would feel comfortable sharing?
A bad babysitting experience? I mean, if I do, it's actually from when Rosalind was a baby. It's not from when Grayson was a child, or at least an infant. Um, because again, I don't think Grayson has ever been babysat by anyone.
Hmm.
Um, and if he has, it was when he was probably still like less than a year old,
Hmm.
because we didn't really, I mean, I think we were just so busy with two under two that it was a lot. And so we relied on family a lot that first year. But I honestly do not think that we have ever had a situation where we've had to leave them, either child, with like a person who we hired or that we didn't know personally. Um, but there is we did have a situation actually with my late father-in-law. He he adored our children so much and never had kids of his own, and often treated our children like his own. And he was a wonderful, wonderful man. And he actually was watching Rosalind. She was a couple of months old. I think she was like 5 or 6 months old. Old enough to be sitting up on her own, but not like well. Um, and he called me while I was at the office, and I think I was just about a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two pregnant with Grayson. I was still really sick. Um, and the the call that I got was, I don't want you to freak out, but, and I'm like, you never start a call like that, ever, like ever. Um, yeah, it turns out his dog, he had a little dog. She actually bit Roslyn,
Aw.
and it was, yeah, he had turned his back to prepare Rosalind a bottle, and the next thing you know, the dog just, I don't know if Rosalind got in her space or what, but Rosalind does have a little scar right on the top lip now from
Aw.
it. But yeah, it didn't require any stitches or anything. They did like a little bit of medical glue and it was fine. But um, yeah, luckily, I mean, Rosalind wasn't afraid of the dog after that. But um, yeah, it that was probably the worst thing that we've ever had with somebody else watching the kids.
That was
Um,
probably the worst for your father-in-law too.
oh, absolutely. He felt so bad. Yeah, he
Oh,
felt horrible. Yeah, I felt really bad for him. I thought he was going to have a heart attack, just like
oh.
calling me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always think the best way to call someone whenever there's a issue is they're okay. Everyone's okay.
Hmm.
That's my first phrase that I give.
Yeah.
Um, as long as they are okay, and God willing, that's always the case. But um, yeah, and so I mean, just building up to that, like, okay, we're about to leave, we're leaving them with, you know, my father-in-law, or in your scenario, we're leaving Grayson with his team, and I'm guessing maybe things have changed over time as you've built more trust with your team members, and probably like you were sharing, you have one therapist that really knows how to keep Grayson in line, and he's very safe with her, but
Mhm.
do you have like a level of anxiety that you feel even just building up to like the moment before you walk out the door?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who's at the house. So we do have a new staff that actually started with us last week. And she does not know him very well at all. And this evening, actually, today's a 12-hour day for her, so it's a long day. Um, and I would say 12-hour shifts at our house right now are overwhelming for even our most senior staff. Um,
Hmm.
Grayson is just, we've been having a lot of tantrums, a lot of behaviors, lots and lots of self injury. I mean, his self injury, his charts are really, really high right now. Um, and we don't know if it's like caused by all of these changes with school being out or what. We're still trying to figure that out, or if there's like something medical that's kind of underlying, if it is the seizures with, the heat and everything. So we're trying to figure it out. But so this evening, actually, she is with us, and then we have another staff who Grayson is just now starting to warm up to, and he's been with us for probably about like 3 months now. And it does take Grayson quite some time to like really like be comfortable with people.
Hmm.
So this evening, I am a little bit nervous. I am going to make sure I'm home, even though his DSP is there, so I technically don't have to be. Um, but I am planning on being there just because um, of having two staff that he's not really fully 100% comfortable with. Even though his DSP is like his second mom, he listens to her more than he listens to me half the time. So, um, but yeah, I'm always very cautious when it comes to like, checking the schedule, making sure I know who is on, and, taking into account the fact that this new staff member has been on, at least will be on for 12 hours. I mean, that's a really long day.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm always really like cautious when it comes to, checking out the calendar and seeing who's working what shifts and how late people are here. Just because, like I said, I mean, even 8 hours with him is a lot. I mean, me alone with him for 4 hours is like, oof, like I have a headache and I'm usually done by the end of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, and I know that sounds terrible to say about my own kid, but like, it really is. It is just so exhausting when you're on 24/7 and you don't have a proper break.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like it feels terrible to say that about your own child, but I think it is good to be able to acknowledge that because it does probably bring a greater level of understanding to your therapist. And, like you're able, I think, when you're realistic with what's going on, I think you can better support them and better understand them if they're in that place of exhaustion. So, um,
Mhm.
I don't think it's a sign that you love him any less. I think it's just it's a lot of work. And I think if you weren't exhausted, you probably wouldn't be doing what you're supposed to be doing to support Grayson. So that's my assumption. I think based on what you're sharing and what I know about him from your stories, I think if you're not exhausted, you're probably negligent.
Yeah, 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 like I said, eat, sleep, breathe, everything is Grayson. So,
Yeah.
and whatever I have left in me, I try to devote to Rosalind. And luckily, Derek can give a little bit more of himself to her because I, I just I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good that she has that connection with him and that you have that connection with Grayson and that you're both in. And I mean, I can't imagine if you were doing it solo because that would be probably impossible.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yes.
So trusting people, I mean, that I have a very hard time with trusting people. I know when I first, so we never had anyone, okay, that's not true. I was going to say we never had anyone watch our kids outside of family, but for my daughter, we did have her in daycare part-time for like 4 months. Very hard for me. Very, very hard for me. Especially and you can probably relate with this, with a child that can't communicate what's going on. Very scary.
Hmm. Yes.
You're living that now, past infancy, but um, that was hard for me. Fortunately, it went pretty well. We did have a little blip, which thank goodness we worked through and shortly after she was no longer there, but um past that there was only family helping with my children, and then until more recently, I think a couple years ago, my mother had to have a surgery. Actually, I cannot remember what kind of surgery it was, but it was a surgery where she needed to recover. And of course she was like, I'll put it off, and I'm like, no, you will not. We will
Yeah.
find a babysitter. Fortunately, she lives with us. So I was able to bring someone in our house, and my mom was wandering around. And if there was anything suspicious, sorry, if there was anything suspicious, she could instantly tell me. So I would know, not a good fit. We're nixing this. Fortunately, the girl that we brought on was amazing. And then more recently, we actually have a girl that she's sort of from our church, a family that goes to our church, and she's a daughter of a friend that I have at church, and she's amazing, incredible, and it's to the point of where I don't even have to like mom, you can go do your thing, go to the senior center, do your thing, and I can just leave, and I know that she'll tell me we're very aligned in our
Mhm.
styles of dealing with the children. But that was hard for me. So, and that's just me trusting them that they're going to be a good person, because for the most part, you're just changing diapers with the baby. The bigger kids, they can say, "Hey, mom, this is what happened today," and I will
Mhm.
be like, "Okay, that's concerning. That's not happening with us." But it's like you're trusting them with more stuff. Like, what are some of the things that you think about that you're like, "Okay, I am trusting this person to take over this."
Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm definitely always thinking, what would they do in an emergency situation is usually like my top, thought. Um, if Grayson was to have XYZ happen, what would this person do? Um, and before I leave him with anybody, even the people who are trained, I mean, I go over everything with them. I have like a everything that you need, like a how-to guide to Grayson on our refrigerator, just so then if something was to happen, they could just easily take whatever's there on the fridge and just be able to go walk into a hospital and know what meds he's taking, his emergency contacts, like his insurance info, everything. I have every single thing written down so that people have, access to it if needed, because you never know when an emergency is going to come up. But that, and I honestly, I always ask if the person has questions, because I usually know if something's going to go well, or if like somebody's going to be a good fit to watch him if they're asking a lot of questions and they're curious about what he likes to do or what they can do with him, or they're just not coming in and saying like, oh, I've babysat hundreds of times, and I have a little brother and blah blah blah. Like, it's totally different. Yeah, it's another person's family member, but he is stuck in that infant slash toddler phase pretty much. I mean, he has been for the past 9.5, almost 10 years. So I can't really say, oh yeah, he'll tell you when he wants blah blah blah, because sometimes he will, sometimes he won't. Um, so yeah, I always like to ask if they have questions, and that kind of will tell me if I think it's going to be an okay pairing or not. But yeah, and I mean, like, what kind of things? How do you know when you find somebody to watch your children? Like, how do you know that it's going to work out? Do you do anything specifically?
Well, I think you're trusting them with a lot more with Grayson, um, versus me. I'm just trusting that they're not going to harm my children, like they
Mm-hmm.
have good intentions. That's my biggest concern. Um, but typically the way that I navigate it, and I don't think you have this luxury, is I try to find someone that I know through someone who trusts them and has at some point had them watch their own children. And I make sure that person that does trust them is someone that I know well. And that's usually like a piece that gives me a lot of peace about bringing someone into my home. I think no one really likes to know it all. And I think that the people that do kind of have that approach of like, oh, yeah, I've been doing this for this many years. I mean, I just had a situation with an RBT that had that kind of mentality, and I wasn't really sure how to take it because I was like, is it is it because they're just that confident, or is it that they're overly confident? Because there's a big
Mm-hmm.
difference. Like I always tell my children, the smartest people are the ones that are never willing to stop learning. So if people aren't asking questions and wanting to learn more and improve, like that they're kind of just like they're done learning. That's it. They're not, in my opinion, that's a sign of asking questions is someone that's really intelligent and capable, and I think they're the best of the best. So I think asking
Mm-hmm.
questions is great. But I think for me, I also am very upfront about our styles of dealing with conflicts with our kids, things that are important to us, our values. And I do try to find someone that shares those same values, because our situation's a little bit different, probably more similar to like you trying to find childcare in the summer, because we do homeschool, where you do like a homeschool hybrid. So um, I don't work full time, but I there are times where I'm working and my kids need to be with someone. And I want that experience to be an enriching experience and not
Mm-hmm.
just like I'm babysitting you. I want that to be like I'm learning through play, I'm having fun, I'm doing exciting things. So I just try to find someone that really shares our values. But it's a lot easier to find someone that shares your values, that doesn't also have to be an expert with medical issues, an expert with behavior management. Um, I imagine that if I were in your shoes, there are certain things that are going to take higher priority than others. Um, and it's not a matter of like diversity, like we don't have an issue of like diversity and like that sort of thing in our home, but there are certain things that take priority for us. And I think for in your situation, you probably have it maybe that would have taken priority if you weren't in your situation, but there's probably
Mm-hmm.
other things that do take
Yeah.
priority over those scenarios. Um, but I know for me, I like when someone is starting with our family that they're willing to come out and like kind of just like be around us and be with us and like just do things with us and then watch me interact with my kids and spend a day or so with us. Um, that to me is huge because I, first of all, I wouldn't want them to feel like they're struggling. I think it's a lot easier for us now that my three kids are 6, 6, and 7, and they're
Mhm.
able to communicate their needs and I also do work from home mostly. So if there was ever an emergency, they could run right over and, come find me. Um, but yeah, I think that just kind of learning from me at first is really
Yeah.
valuable to me. And you can tell a lot from that.
Yeah. No, I think that that's across the board, whether your child has a special need or not. Um, just really being comfortable with that person. And I don't know, maybe just because I haven't had that experience of having to find somebody online or through someone else, um, I've just always kind of wondered, like, how do you know that you feel comfortable? Like, how do you just kind of like leave your kids with, I mean, a stranger really,
Mhm.
and just kind of cross your fingers and hope that it goes well. Um, that to me, I mean, I could never do it just because of the reality of my situation, but
Mhm.
I know so many other parents, they don't have any other choice. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate to not have to put either of my children in daycare. Um, because I really, I don't think I'd be able to do it, to be honest. I probably would have pulled Rosalind out within a day. I mean, I could barely even stay away from her long enough to work an 8-hour shift. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but I mean, it definitely is. It's interesting because there's so many similarities between your situation and my situation, but then there are so many differences because of like the complexities, at least on my side. Um, but I think at the end of the day, we both want what is best for our child. It's just we have to get there in different ways. So
When I think about your situation and the reality of what you face, and I think about me and the kind of person that I am naturally a worrier, and that's not
mhm.
something I'm proud of. I will say that I'm a very spiritual person, and I do try to put my trust in God for those kind of things. But worrying is a very real part of my life, and I don't really have a lot to worry about, and I imagine that like that would be very hard for me to navigate, knowing that there's a really good chance that my son could have a seizure today.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that is a huge difference between you and I. Anything can happen at any point, and that's just the reality of life for anyone. And God forbid it be anything bad. But I think that is a huge difference that I can't fully comprehend.
Yeah, and usually I'm very good at kind of being on the same vibe as Grayson. Um, so I can kind of tell when I know something's just not right. Um, but you know, anything can happen at any time.
Hmm.
So I'm really kind of at the mercy of just trusting whoever's with him.
Hmm.
And I make sure that we have really good staff. And yeah, I mean, it's the best I can do. And in the situation that we've been given, I mean, yes, I'm typically a warrior as well, but I've had to really kind of just let it go and let things go as they must. And it's not easy. Um, I often want to kind of like check in on him every 5 minutes and make sure everything's okay. But you know, there there was a time when I was doing that, and I've stopped doing that because I know that the more I do it, the worse it's just going to get later.
Yeah.
So I really try my best to put my faith in those who are watching him and let them do what they need to do. And,
Mhm.
you know, most of the time it works out fine. And we haven't had, knock on wood, any catastrophes. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it definitely is, it is worrisome and nerve wracking. Um, I mean, for any parent to leave their child, but when you have the medical, complexities that we have with Grayson, it adds a whole new layer of something that just you never know.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it's a healthy place for you to be in, to just try to fight against that and
Mhm.
to kind of let go a little bit. I think many women struggle with the worry aspects,
Oh,
and I'm sure many parents do in general, but I think it's a more feminine characteristic often. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think I don't think it's helping anyone. You can always think of the what ifs. I haven't
mhm.
perfected it. But I think just to be aware of that is really important, that it's not going to help anything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and that's really that. I know that we've gone back and forth about it, but ECT, that really has kind of helped me just
mhm.
to keep that mentality that it is what it is. I can't change it, and things are just gonna happen how they happen.
Yep. So yeah, those are all really good points, and hopefully together we can all kind of improve in that way. So I'm assuming that there are times where you just can't find help. I'm assuming that you just can't find childcare. You don't have someone that you trust with Grayson and Roz. Um, have you had scenarios where you've had to miss events that, big events, weddings, I don't know, family reunions? Has that happened for you?
Yeah. So Derek has had to go to a couple of events by himself. One being the wedding of his best friend, who was our best man. That was really upsetting. I wanted to go
Yeah.
because his best man is a really great guy, and I would have really liked to have been there. But at that time, Grayson was having a really difficult time with the seizures, and I just, you know, even my family, I could have trained them, and I still would not have been comfortable leaving him.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a local wedding, and I'm happy that Derek was able to go and to be a part of it and everything. But um, yeah, I unfortunately did have to not go to that. There's been a bunch of random like things that my family has done. Like they've gone on beach trips or like trips to like a lake. Um, they've done family gatherings and things like that. Like before my mother passed away, um, they would they would do like fun little like weekend or like day trips and things like that as a family. I often would stay home with Grayson. Sometimes Derek would go, sometimes I would go, but most times Roslyn would actually go alone with my parents. And my mom and her were just so close, and they had a really
Mhm.
great bond. So I never really had to worry about Roslyn, and she was always on her best behavior when my mom was there. And it's just now she's sassy, but uh, but yeah, no, there has been a lot of things, and we do continue to, you know, at first it was, we would have to give, our reason why we couldn't come or why we couldn't go to something, and then eventually the invitations kind of just stopped coming, um, and that,
Mm,
you know, that is really sad. Um,
yeah.
I think we kind of got hit with a double whammy because we had Grayson going through what he was going through and us having to cancel a lot of things or not go to a lot of things. And then, COVID hit and we had, basically 2 years of isolation. So I've gotten very used to being home and not doing much as far as like going out and doing anything social. But it is. I mean, it is disappointing when we either have to split up or we have to do something separate or, you know, split the kids up even. We often drive separately to events if we do go to things just because we know that Grayson could have a meltdown at any moment and he would have to leave. So it is really disappointing, but oftentimes if Grayson is unable to go to something, I'm the one who stays home. Derek takes Rosalind, or if it's something involving my family, I will go and take Rosalind. But yeah, most of the time, I mean, we do have to, unfortunately, turn down a lot of things.
That's got to be really hard. And I imagine even though, in a lot of scenarios you wouldn't be able to attend certain events, to not have the invite, I think is a different kind of sting.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that's really hard. Um,
Yeah,
because you
it
still want to know
is.
that you're welcome and you're included, but even if you can't, you want to make that choice if you can't go.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you were sharing that you and Derek, when the kids are in school, it's a lot more accessible to have your lunch dates. I mean, they're
Hmm.
short-lived. But and I know that you've shared with me very early on the importance of you guys really making sure that your relationship stays strong and you continue to maintain that team mentality. But I'm assuming that it probably does make it difficult for you guys to stay connected and to fight against that lack of like disconnection. I know just having four kids, life's busy and your priority is like making sure their needs are met and all the other stuff like trickles after, especially when they're little. So do you feel that there's that kind of like tug a little bit there?
Yeah, constantly. I feel like it's often being pulled in the direction of Grayson and his care, or Derek with his work, because he works a lot,
Mhm.
um, and it's hard to kind of find that nice balance in between. But yeah, I mean, we definitely we try to make the most out of the time we do and can spend together. But um, I mean, I would be lying if I said that our relationship definitely hasn't suffered because of the situation that we're in. We actively have to really focus on telling each other our feelings, our emotions, and that's not easy for me. I'm not one to really
Mhm.
be all, verbal about my feelings and emotions, and he is quite the opposite. And so it's difficult, but in many ways, I think him kind of pushing me to come out of my shell a little bit has really helped. Um, and we keep that line of communication open and try our best. That's really all we can do.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love that even though it is hard and, again, you're accepting that you're in this challenging place, that you're doing everything you can to still make it work and fight for that. So when you bring on people to help, and I know your situation's different because you're
Mhm.
not bringing on just any babysitter. You actually are bringing on, and I'm not discrediting babysitters because I think there's many beautiful babysitters out there, but you're bringing on people that are professionals with whatever it might be, medical, behavioral, learning new skills, whatever it might be. Um, what what has worked for you guys? Because, and I know you were sharing there's certain people that you do have a higher level of comfort with. I'm guessing some of that is seniority and how long they've been
Mhm.
around, but what does work?
Um, I think having people who, of course, you can trust. That's always the number one thing. Um, but also, if you're kind of on the fence and you're not sure, even if it is somebody who you've have no reason to not trust, making sure that you have had an opportunity to kind of be one-on-one with that person and for them to see your routine and your child's routine. Um, that's always been our biggest thing that we've kind of honed in on, is making sure that whoever's going to be with him knows that his he's very unpredictable. We never know kind of what Grayson we're going to be getting at a given time. Um, so knowing what type of things do work well and what doesn't work well typically. So that's where I like to have somebody come in and they, at least like observe him for a little bit or ask tons of questions. That's always like my big uh, green green light is, asking a lot of questions and making sure that, we have information available even if we're not there. Making sure that everybody knows kind of where they can find things and our preferences if something was to happen, or if we need to be reached and we can't be reached, who's the next person to call. All of those little details. You think, yeah, I can just leave like their number or whatever, but not in these circumstances. It's interesting. A lot of the people who actually work with Grayson have met almost everybody in my family, and they all know like my father and my sisters, and they all know who lives where and who to call and who could get somewhere the fastest. And it's really because I've made sure that everybody who is with him often comes with us to certain events and comes to family functions so that they can all meet each other. And, our tech from last night, even like when I had to go and deal with an emergency situation, my dad came to the house, which is not normal. Um, he came to the house and the tech that was there had never met him before. And they sat there and they talked for like 2 hours while I was, at urgent care doing what I had to do. So it was, I think that just, being open with the other people, knowing what your expectations are, what their expectations are, and making sure that you have everything clearly written out, that this is what happens when this happens. And if this happens, this is what you do. Of course, writing it all out for us would be like a manual, but us having people who work with him on either a daily basis or a regular basis, or who can actually have the opportunity to come out and watch and see what we do in certain situations. And I think that that's really helped.
I'm sure that tells you a lot. And also, I think for trusted family members, I think that tells you a lot too, what their vibe is.
Mhm.
And also, like, me as a person that works with families that have children with special needs, like, I love getting to know their family. It helps to bring a better understanding to the whole dynamic and the whys. And sometimes I might start off thinking like, whoa, they're a little intense there. And then I experience something and I'm like, no, they really are not.
Mhm.
Not saying that I think that about everyone, but I'm just saying like there can be scenarios where it really does paint the picture more. Um, and I think that your insight on kind of creating those visuals is really helpful. Um, I imagine if I was babysitting Grayson, I would love having something like that. Okay, I know what to do if I don't,
Mhm.
this comes up. Um, and there are some resources out there for families. It might not work for everyone. It's not a one size fits all. And I think every state is going to be different criteria. I know there are some respite programs out there, and um, there are some special needs childcare agencies. I will say one example, I know like our church, they have a special needs program, and there's a couple of places around that I do know, like in Baltimore, that have like respite days. Again, it's a whole nother layer of trusting someone, and
Mhm.
it might not be accessible to all people. Um, there are, a lot of families that I know, they'll actually keep in touch with their teachers and their aides, and that's a really great resource if that teacher or aide has the time or availability. I believe you were sharing your BCBA from a
Mhm.
while back still stays in Grayson's life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar. You know, yeah, I think that is huge for families. Um, and then, I'm a part of certain groups, but I know there's like some parent groups for autism on Facebook, and there's ways that people kind of find resources that I think, you know, thank goodness for the internet. Like, I think it does really help you to find things that you would not otherwise know. Um,
Mhm.
Again, though, there's still a lot of like caveats with those things. Um, Sometimes a lot of red tape. You can't just like, oh, sign me up for respite and get it. It's just not
Mhm.
gonna always happen. But I'm not sure if there's any other things that come to your mind. I know for Grayson specifically, your dynamic just works differently, and it works well for you just to have all the providers and his team helping you in that regard. But are there any other resources that you kind of think of, or is that kind of outline any suggestions
Um,
you would have?
yeah, I mean, I think that other parents with kids with special needs is helpful too. Um, you can typically find like Facebook support groups. Like for Lancaster County, there's one that it's like Lancaster PA Autism Parents. And they, even if they can't watch your child, they are so awesome with being able to give insight on everything and anything. Like if you need advice on something or if you need help finding someone, I mean, they live it too, so they know what and where to look. And I have often found many things through that support group that people have just been really great with their suggestions. And I haven't found someone to watch my children through there, but we often I'm scrolling through and I see so many people who are asking for help for this and that, and other parents are so willing to just jump in and help. And I think the whole episode, back when we were talking about building a village, um, I think that the autism parent community is a different type of village, and they really do look out for their own, and they are always very willing to help each other out. So, um, even if you go to the park and you don't know anybody there, I can't tell you how many times we've gone to the park and I've met different people who I don't even have to tell them. They know, and
Mhm.
they just start spilling their story. And it's really just, it's great to be able to connect with other people to just, you know, tell each other your story. And, if you connect on like a personal level, great. If you don't, and it's just a, you know, one time only, we're just chatting and whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, you never know, that one time chat could really change somebody's day. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, we've met so many people through local playgrounds, and even like local McDonald's. I mean, we were in the city in Philadelphia, and Grayson was acting up at the McDonald's waiting for his food. And we were leaving the dentist's office, so we were like inner city Philly, and I was like so embarrassed. I had like four adults with us, and then Grayson and Roslyn, just yeah. And this older woman who was at the table next to us, she was like, "Excuse me," and I was ready to apologize. And before I even opened my mouth, she was like, "You don't even have to say it. My grandson is like this. I know exactly what you're going through." And she told me her story, and by the end of that, like it just put a whole new perspective on everything for me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just getting out there, talking to other people, other parents, grandparents. You never know. You can really get a whole lot of information from other people who live it too.
Yeah. And I always say that the best advocates are parents that have lived
Mhm.
it. A very big part of my situation now is advocating for families and their educational services and so forth. And I have a good friend who is in the process of advocating for her own son, where the school is really disservicing her son. And she didn't know anything, and she was thrown into this situation, and you would talk to her and think she's been doing this for 20 years. The knowledge that she has, because she has no other choice,
Mhm.
is incredible. And I keep telling her, I'm like, you are going to be the best advocate out there, and you're going to help other families one day. And I think
Yeah,
that is, I think from what I see as an outsider, but I do kind of see what you're saying. I think these families really are the best advocates in every way. I mean, they know where the services are. They're not afraid to say what bad services look like.
hmm,
They're more than happy to say, here's this guy that I know. Here's this person that I know. Or let me give you the whole scoop of what you got to do to get what you need for your son.
yeah,
It is pretty amazing. And I always say, like, if you are a provider and you want to know how well you're doing, go on the parent groups and see what they're saying about you, because that's going
yeah,
to be authentically what how you're doing. Um,
absolutely.
a lot of these places sadly will solicit reviews, and you don't know where they're really coming from. But like if you go talk to the parents, they're going to tell you very bluntly if it's good
Hmm.
or not. Now, every opinion can vary, and there will be some people that had a bad experience and it wasn't the experience, it's not the overall, but like I'm saying, the overall, you're going to get the overall gist of how you're performing as a provider by hearing parents. So I think don't take that lightly at all. um
Hmm. Yeah,
so
definitely. I
yeah.
think other parents know best. They really do. You can learn a lot
Yeah.
from other people.
Yeah, and I think it's worth it to have that humility to hear what they're saying about you and be
Hmm.
willing to change and better. Because I do think something that I'm very passionate about when working with children with special needs is kind of shedding light on the scenarios that are not ethical, that are not good. Um, and I am, as a provider myself, I'm fully willing to help share the things that are red flags for me. And I think families are like that, you don't even need to ask, they're going to tell you the red flags before you even
Oh,
ask.
absolutely. Yep.
So I love it because I will entertain it every day. Um,
Mhm.
Now we want to see more support for our our friends and family that have children with special needs and autism. And ideally, we want to encourage people to be willing to help and babysit. So, you know, um, as an autism mom yourself, what do you wish these caregivers knew? Like, what advice would you give, or what do you wish they knew in order to make them the best caregiver for a family?
Don't expect to have it all down right away. It's not something that will happen overnight. You could read everything about a child until your face is blue, but you never really know until you're there and living it or, thrown into a situation. You're never really going to be able to say, yeah, I know this kid. Because even me, sometimes, yeah, I know Grayson, but I don't know how Grayson's going to be today. So don't beat yourself up over that kind of stuff. Um, you really don't need to be perfect. Just be honest and open, and open communication with the parents or whomever you are um, in communication with. Uh, build build the trust of the family and the child. Those are really the key words of advice I think I could give.
I think that's a great bit of advice. Um, Absolutely. And I think that could apply to a lot of things, but I think in this scenario, that would mean so much to parents to have someone that with that kind of those kind of characteristics to be watching their child and helping them.
Yeah.
So, question to, just after we talk about all of these scenarios and all of the red tape and the challenges with finding, a babysitter. Let's just say in a hypothetical situation, if you just had someone walk up into your space and fully trained, fully ready, fully trusted, what do you think you would do with your time? What would you find yourself doing?
I think if it was like an ongoing, like once a week type deal, I would probably get back into my music. Um, Performing either with a choir again or with like a company. Um, I mean, I have a music degree and I don't use it at all. And I would love to be able to say, hey, I went to college for this and I'm actually doing something with it. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to do that. But if it was like a one time thing, um, I mean, there are a list of movies that I've really wanted to see that are still in theaters that I haven't been able to see. So I would like to see a movie, maybe have a nice dinner, but you know, it happens when it happens.
And I'm sure you appreciate it that much more when it happens.
I do. It happens like once every couple of years, but I'll take it. What about you? If you were in the same situation, I mean, reverse, I guess.
So I do feel, and I feel really guilty even sharing this because I know that you're in such a situation. But I will say for us, we don't, I don't typically have childcare for the sake of just doing something fun.
Mhm.
Usually, if I have childcare, I am working. And then if I'm not working, I'm with my children. Um, we've never been the type to like go on a million date nights. We try to do it occasionally. Um, I think for me, the thing that has really suffered since becoming a mother is fitness. And I think that everything else I'm able to kind of intertwine with our lives. Um, I'm able to kind of, with homeschooling, I'm able to kind of get my creative outlet in with my children, and my little ones sleeping. But I think the thing that's really suffered for me is fitness. So I would really love to be able to just, have more of a commitment to that, which isn't something you can really do once a week in order to make a
Mhm.
difference. Um, so I think that's the thing that kind of comes to my mind.
Yeah. Oh, that I could understand that a lot, especially like when you have kids and, especially after you have more than one, it's a little bit harder to bounce back and all of
Mhm.
that. And, I'm what, almost 10 years out and I'm still waiting to,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I
I
had a
definitely hear you.
what a 5 year gap, 5.5 year gap between my twins and my daughter. And I always am like, I feel like that was still like the postpartum phase, but I'm like, no, that really wasn't.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we do get my husband and I do get some date nights, and that's really when we use my mom for help. Because the kids are kind of like, we're like, okay, go put TV on. We don't typically like them watching TV too much, but
Mhm.
put a movie on, watch TV with them, and the baby will eventually go to sleep. And that's when we'll get those opportunities. We don't typically take her up on that very much. So I cannot complain in that regard because I think if we did push for more of that, we could definitely get more date nights. We are homebodies, so we love being
Yeah.
home, which works in our favor. Um, but yeah, I think anyone would love more free time, right? To do what they want and not have those constraints. But I will say,
Yeah.
I don't think we can complain in our scenario.
Well, as we discussed in a previous episode, every parent needs a village. And for many of the autism families out there, the challenge isn't just finding that village, it's finding the people who are willing to learn to be a part of it. So if you are one of those people, you may never really fully understand how much your support means, but trust us as coming from a BCBA who has been on the other side of things, and from a parent. It really does change everything. Being able to trust someone to just simply watch your child for 5 minutes it means so much. So we do really appreciate those who are willing to do it and who are willing to learn. And it means so much when we can finally find somebody that we trust and can handle our children.
Absolutely. I think that is a huge thing. So if you feel that's you, I think many families would welcome your support. And we would love to hear from our listeners, maybe some of your babysitter wins, maybe some of even the horror stories that you experienced. We would love to hear all of it. And we're looking forward to having you join us for our next episode. We're very, very excited to have Thomas Rick join us. He's a magician from the UK who has autism himself. He'll be sharing a story with us and how he uses magic to overcome the difficulties with socialization. And he will actually be joining us to perform a few tricks as well. So we really encourage you to join and watch. That'll be a very fun episode. And we're so, so excited and thrilled to have him join us.
Yes, and please like and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. We're found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Remember, you can comment and tell us what topics you would like us to discuss for future episodes. And thank you for taking the time to listen. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Sip and stim. Sip and stim.